Hello, dear subscribers and viewers. Today is January 15th, 2026, and you are watching another regular overview of the situation on the battlefield map. I would like to address the topic of Odessa separately right away. I am not engaging in speculation or making things up. Even the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrsky, has publicly stated that the Russian side is considering an advance toward Odessa and a possible assault on the city. In this context, the distance Russian forces would need to cover is not of fundamental importance. This information has been voiced officially, and I am merely conveying it to you without adding any personal interpretations. Now let us move directly to the battlefield map. As of today, important changes have been recorded on several directions at once. Significant developments are observed on the Orkiv sector, where Russian units are exerting pressure on Ukrainian defensive positions. Major events are also unfolding on the Lyman and Sloviansk directions. There, Russian forces are expanding their zone of control and have already approached the northern defensive lines of Sloviansk very closely. Changes are also being observed in the Vauvchansk area, and new information is coming in from the Sumy direction as well. In addition, reports continue to arrive from almost the entire line of contact, all of which we will examine in detail. Let us begin with the Kherson direction. Why does this sector deserve special attention? I return to its review from time to time because despite the lack of visible territorial advances, the front line here remains extremely active. Artillery systems, FPV drone units, and aviation are constantly involved in this area. Over the past 24 hours, Russian airstrikes have been recorded in the areas of the settlements of Inhulets, Darivka, Mykilska, and Sadove. In addition, during the same period, Russian artillery intensively targeted the central and shipbuilding districts of Kherson, as well as the island zone and the city's coastal neighborhoods. Official Ukrainian sources claim that strikes are being carried out against civilians. At the same time, a number of independent Ukrainian bloggers express a different viewpoint, noting that the strikes are hitting territorial defense units. The issue is that fighters from the territorial defense forces often operate while wearing civilian clothing. With a high degree of probability, it is precisely these formations that are being targeted. This also explains the large number of photo materials that appear daily in the Ukrainian information space. However, most of the published images show damage to civilian infrastructure, shops, garages, and gas stations. Nevertheless, it is logical to assume that the Russian side would not expend munitions solely on civilian objects. Most likely, these strikes are aimed at Ukrainian military positions and personnel disguising themselves as civilians. As for FPV drone strikes, they were carried out against Ukrainian positions in the areas of Dnipro, Antonivka, and the Dachi area. Despite the fact that Dachi is located on the left bank of the Dnipro River, control over this area remains with Ukrainian forces. Active use of Russian FPV drones was also recorded in the areas of Dniprovsk and Bilozerka. In response, the Ukrainian side employed FPV drones and artillery against Russian positions in the areas of Hola Pristan, Oleshki, Zaplava, Pishchanivka, Pidstepne, as well as near Novokakhovka. At the same time, no territorial advances have been observed on this direction for a long period. Next, we move on to the Orkiv direction. Reports coming from this area are indeed serious. Russian forces are increasing pressure on Ukrainian defensive lines. According to available information, they are exerting pressure on the settlements of Rychna, Vasylyanka, and Madalinivka. In addition, the activity of reconnaissance and sabotage groups has been noted in the Malokatarivka area. Pro-Russian mapping resources have already reflected changes on the map. Russian units are breaking through defenses in Rychna, applying pressure on Vasylyanka, and also expanding their zone of control from the direction of Primorsk toward Madalinivka and north of Stepnohirsk. According to these sources, the entire indicated area is under Russian control, although there is still no official confirmation of this information. Nevertheless, reports continue to arrive about intense strikes on Ukrainian positions in the areas of Pavlivka, Zapasne, Madalinivka, Veselyanka, Rychna, and Malokatarivka. At present, confirmed data is available for the sector near Stepnohirsk, from where materials have emerged indicating an expansion of the zone of control. Most likely, in the near future, the Russian side will continue to level the front line between Primorske and Lukyanivske, if this process has not already been completed. Pressure is also continuing directly on Orkiv itself. Russian forces are striking this settlement using FPV drones, artillery and aviation, targeting temporary deployment points. Orkiv remains one of the key fortified areas of the armed forces of Ukraine on this direction, and for a long time the Russian side has been unable to take it. Despite the fact that Mala Tokmachka was previously taken and, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, Novodany-Livka was also captured, it was not possible to establish a foothold in Orkiv, and Russian units were forced to withdraw to more advantageous positions. At present, active combat is taking place on the approaches to Novoandriivka, Novodany-Livka, and Mala Tokmachka. The settlement of Bilohiria is largely located in the grey zone, but is controlled to a greater extent by Russian forces, since Ukrainian units are unable to enter it. At the same time, Russian troops are not fully deployed there either due to the terrain. The settlement is situated in a lowland. On the Huliaipol direction, minor changes have been recorded concerning the so-called pocket, where Ukrainian forces previously carried out assault operations. Russian units repelled attacks toward the settlements of Slak and Ravnopol. Previously, this territory was shown as being under Ukrainian control, but now Russian forces are returning it to full control. As of today, information about this area passing under Russian control has been confirmed. With a high degree of probability, the entire pocket is already fully controlled by Russian forces, given that they were previously present in the Dobropilia area and even entered Kosivtseve from that direction, which the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to be under Russian control. Russian troop presence has also been noted in the Priluki area, making it impossible for Ukrainian forces to return there. In addition, movement towards Staroukrainka has been recorded. Earlier, reports appeared claiming that Russian forces had entrenched themselves in this settlement or even entered Zheleznyshny, but these reports have not yet been confirmed. However, today video materials have emerged confirming an expansion of the zone of control by approximately 2 kilometers deep into the front line west of Zelenpol and Huliaipol. On the Dnipropetrovsk direction, information about an expansion of the zone of control in the areas of Andriivka, Otradne and Hai has been confirmed today. Russian forces have advanced north of these settlements. Most likely, this represents an expansion of a buffer or grey zone, since no further offensive actions have been recorded. Initial reports of this appeared several weeks ago, and only now have they been confirmed. Russian forces also continue to strike Ukrainian positions in the areas of Novopol, Boykivka, Ternovate, Oleksandrivka, Dobropasove, and Pokrovsk. Aviation and artillery are operating particularly actively against Pokrovsk. As for Novopavlivka, reports of the clearing of the territory between it and Muravka have still not been confirmed. Video materials continue to arrive from the Pokrovsk direction. Yesterday we discussed that Russian forces were located at a specific point, and over the past 24 hours, the entire marked area has come under their control. Today, videos have appeared confirming firm control over Pokrovsk, as well as Minohrad. It is reported that Minohrad has effectively been cleared and demining operations are underway. A similar situation is developing in Pokrovsk. Russian units continue to apply pressure in the directions of Ryshain and Shevchenko. However, as of now, no expansion of the zone of control has been recorded there. The same applies to Serhivka, Novoaleksandrivka, and Novopidhorodny. Pressure is being applied, but there is no confirmed information about advances. The last confirmed changes on this sector date back several days and concerned an expansion of the zone of control north of Udakne. As of today, only limited information is coming in from the Dobropilia salient. The main developments are unfolding in the areas of Shakov and Sofivka, where fierce fighting continues. However, unfavorable weather conditions are preventing either side from advancing, and the front line has effectively stalled. A similar situation is observed in the areas of Novy Donbass and Belitske. Earlier, reports appeared claiming that Russian forces were assaulting these settlements, but no confirming materials have emerged. At the same time, the Russian side continues to strike Ukrainian positions in the Dobropilia area, actively employing FPV drones and artillery. New data has also arrived from the Costantinovka direction, regarding the situation near Stepanivka. Just yesterday, we discussed the expansion of the zone of control north of Yablonivka toward this settlement. Today, confirming materials have appeared. The entire indicated area has come under the control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Thus, it can be stated that Russian units are indeed advancing in the direction of Stepanivka. A similar situation is developing in the Berostok area, where FPV drone units and artillery are being actively employed. Over the past week, serious changes and advances in favor of the Russian army have been recorded on this sector. As for Costantinovka itself, reports indicate that the situation for Ukrainian forces there is close to critical. Russian troops are applying constant pressure on the defenses, and FPV drone units are operating against Ukrainian positions almost continuously, around the clock. It is possible that active assault operations may begin once weather conditions stabilize. I would like to remind you that there are fortified defensive lines in the Berostok area, as well as on the southern and eastern approaches to Kostiantinivka, which have not yet been breached. Nevertheless, the presence of Russian servicemen has already been recorded on the eastern outskirts of the city. On the Sloviansk direction, changes have affected the settlements of Zaliznianska and Sviatopokrovska. Today, materials were received confirming an expansion of the zone of control in the Zaliznianska area. There are also reports of pressure on Minkivka, but no confirmed advance has been recorded there so far. Earlier, information circulated about the capture of the southwestern part of Orikovo-Vasilivka, but it was not confirmed. The settlement remains largely in the grey zone. Reports also appeared about Russian units entering Minkivka, but these were likewise not confirmed. In effect, the only confirmed change on this sector remains the expansion of the zone of control in the Zalizniansky area. Information from Bondane and Vasukivka has also not been confirmed. At the same time, a video was published showing Russian FPV drone crews destroying a Ukrainian field supply depot in the area of the village of Nikiforivka. This suggests that Ukrainian forward positions are located there, while Russian forces did not enter Nikiforivka from the Paziono direction. In addition, changes have been recorded in the Sviatopokrovska area. As of today, the settlement has been completely cleared, and a partial clearing operation has also been carried out in Reznikivka. Russian units are advancing west of these positions, expanding their zone of control. News and video confirmations continue to arrive from the Krasnolyman direction. Russian forces have destroyed a crossing in the area of the village of Mayaki, with the strike carried out using the Tornado S multiple launch rocket system. As a result, all paved roads leading to Lyman are currently blocked. In order to fully encircle the city, Russian units need to take control of the forested areas west of Lyman. If successful, Lyman will be placed in an operational encirclement, and supplying it will become impossible. Previously, the main supply route ran through Mayaki. It is also reported that the Ukrainian grouping in Lyman is largely being supplied using drones, but Russian FPV crews are actively hunting them as well. An expansion of the zone of control east of Lyman has been recorded. Earlier, we spoke about leveling the front line between Drobyshev and Yampil. Today, confirmation has arrived that this sector has come under Russian control. Russian forces have effectively approached Yampil closely, and assault operations may begin in the coming weeks or within the next month. Intense fighting continues in the areas of Drobyshev and Stavki. Reports are also coming in that Russian troops are increasing pressure in the Sviatohirsk area. If Sviatohirsk comes under Russian control, they will reach the forested areas near Sosnove, and then be able to approach Bohorodikna, taking the northern supply road to Sloviansk under fire control. After a possible crossing of the Siversky Donets River, this road could also be physically cut off. In that case, Sloviansk's main supply route would run primarily through Kramatorsk. Under such conditions, the city would face an extremely difficult situation, though it is still too early to draw final conclusions. No significant changes have been recorded on the Kupansk direction. Reports continue to appear, claiming that Russian forces have blocked Ukrainian units on the left bank of the Oskil River in the area of Kupiansk-Vuzlovyi. This information has surfaced repeatedly, but there is no complete blockade at present. Ukrainian forces continue to receive supplies while positioned in Kupiansk-Vuzlovyi, Kucherivka, and Petropavlivka. Nevertheless, the Russian side is actively applying pressure on Ukrainian defenses. In the Podoli area, a successful strike was recorded against a Ukrainian self-propelled artillery system at a distance of about 2 kilometers from the line of contact. The published video shows an FPV drone operating in forested areas where no Ukrainian manpower is visible. This suggests that Russian forces may expand their zone of control in this direction in the future. It is also reported that Ukrainian forces have been unable to fully clear Kupansk. While the city as a whole remains under Ukrainian control, Russian troop presence has been recorded in its northern and eastern parts. The Ukrainian army has been unable to break through Russian defenses, and according to reports, Ukrainian reserves on this sector are nearly exhausted, which could lead to the initiative shifting to the Russian armed forces. From the Velike Burluk direction, reports indicate increased activity by the Russian army in the area of the settlement of Kolodiazne. Russian units are gradually pressing through the enemy's defenses. Yesterday, an expansion of the zone of control was recorded, and today there are reports of a possible significant advance from the Dvorishny direction. In addition, Russian FPV drone crews continue to strike Ukrainian positions in the areas of Hryaniivka, Obukivka, and Novozhinivka. At the same time, Russian positions are being targeted in the areas of Otradne, Dvorichne, and Kamyanka. From the Vauvchansk direction, changes have been recorded in the areas of the settlements of Hravska and Prilipka. This sector has come under Russian control, and forested areas are being cleared. Russian units continue to apply pressure toward Hravska and Simonivka, despite Ukrainian counterattacks in the direction of Lyman. Fierce fighting is ongoing in the area of the Vauvchansk hamlets. Pro-Russian mapping services have already marked this territory as being under Russian control, but there is no official confirmation of this information yet. On the Liptsy direction, active combat operations continue without changes to the front line. Strikes are being carried out against Ukrainian positions in Liptsy and Slobojanska, while Ukrainian forces are striking Russian positions in Hlybok and Lukyantsy. Extremely important reports are coming in from the Sumy direction. Russian forces are exerting serious pressure on Ukrainian defenses on 2 sectors at once, in the areas of Ryasne, Taratutain, and Novodmitrivka. According to available data, the defenses there have nearly been breached. Breakthroughs of defensive lines are also reported in the areas of Sadki, Oleksivka, and Andriivka. An expansion of the zone of control south of Oleksivka has been confirmed. As for Sadki, there is no official confirmation yet, but even pro-Ukrainian sources acknowledge that Russian units have managed to entrench themselves in forested areas on the approaches to the settlement. If this information is ultimately confirmed, the situation for Ukrainian forces on this direction will become critical, since after the capture of Sadki, Russian troops would reach a large forested area, putting the city of Sumy itself under threat. However, let us refrain from drawing premature conclusions and continue to closely monitor how the situation develops. I will keep you informed of all new developments in a timely manner. That is all for today. Thank you all for your attention and see you again soon.